Disney and Pixar's latest animated film, Elio, seems to be doing pretty well amongst critics and audiences, where at the time of recording, it's currently sitting at an 83% for critics on Rotten Tomatoes and a 90% for audiences. But despite the positive reaction to the movie, it's not enough to actually help it out at the box office. You can see I have the numbers pulled up where it's currently sitting at around 74 million, just under $74 million that it's made at the worldwide box office. And that's on a budget, or a reported budget, of $150 million here, but that's actually the original production budget, or I believe that's the original production budget. There was a lot of stuff changed at this movie after it was already completed. So the actual budget for the movie, I've heard estimates of being double what it's currently being listed at right here. And during its opening weekend, it made just under $21 million at the domestic box office, which would put it at a low for any Pixar movie ever, which is not something good that you want to have for a movie that's probably one of the more expensive Pixar movies ever made. So the question to be asked here is, what went wrong with this movie? If audiences like it, why aren't they watching it, or what happened with this movie? And I think there's a lot of factors going into why this movie is going to become a huge commercial failure for Disney and Pixar. But one thing that I find kind of interesting about this movie and why they spent so much money in order to try to change it is because apparently there was supposed to be more LGBT themes within the movie that Disney spent a lot of time and money to go back and change. Inside Elio's catastrophic path, America Ferrera's exit, director change, and erasure of queer themes. This is coming from The Hollywood Reporter. According to multiple insiders who spoke to The Hollywood Reporter, Elio was initially portrayed as a queer-coded character reflecting original director Adrian Molina's identity as an openly gay filmmaker. Other sources say that Molina did not intend the film to be coming out story, as the character is 11, but either way, this characterization gradually faded away throughout the production process as Elio became more masculine following feedback from leadership. Gone were not only such direct examples of his passion for environmentalism and fashion. I think it's funny that they're saying, like, oh, this character seems a little bit too gay. Can we cut back on his environmentalism and fashion? But also was seen in Elio's bedroom with pictures suggesting a male crush. Hints at the trash fashion remain in the released film, with the boy wearing a cape decorated with discarded cutlery and soda can tabs, although without any explanation for the unusual attire. I mean, or maybe it's just because he's a little kid and little kids do weird stuff. You don't have to look into it, or you don't have to think much of it. I mean, a little boy would wear a cape just decorated with a bunch of things. That doesn't necessarily mean he's gay, but apparently they're trying to suggest that if a boy does stuff like that and plays dress up, then there's only one explanation for it. It goes on to talk about in the article, one of the reasons why Disney decided to make many of the changes that they did, or why they kind of panicked about the movies, because back in summer of 2023, supposedly they had a test screening for the movie where audiences said that they liked the movie, but when asked if they'd actually go out and see it in theaters, none of them agreed to go and see it in theaters. Now, to me, this seems kind of strange that Disney would panic and spend a lot more money to change up a movie because the audience said that they liked it, but didn't necessarily want to go watch it in theaters. I don't think that they would do this for one bad test screening, if you can call that a bad test screening. I think there would have to have been a series of test screenings where that was the case. And also, you have to keep in mind, when it comes to test screenings, it's varies on who the audience is, and it might not necessarily be your target demographic for that particular movie. For me, for instance, I don't have kids that I would be taking to movies or anything like that. I mean, my kids are still too young to go to watch movies in theaters. If they're a little bit older, then I would be probably the target demographic for a movie like this. So if I saw a movie and I said, like, oh, I liked it, then, and they ask, well, would you go see it in theaters? Like, me by myself? No, probably not. But if my kids are a bit older, then I might consider that. Or if I was someone who didn't have kids altogether, I might still enjoy the movie, but it'd be like, yeah, it's still not something I'm going to go pay money to watch in theater. So we don't know the makeup of these test screenings, but apparently Disney was not happy with, according to this article, it makes it sound like just a singular test screening, that they decided to go back and make a lot of changes to this movie. So Adrian Molina, the director of it, made some changes. And then according to this article, it was around this time that Molina screened his latest cut of the film to Pixar leadership. There are different accounts of the exact feedback that the director received from Pixar boss Peter Docter. when the lights went up. The rumors circulating in some of the studio circles that Molina was hurt by the conversation. The part that is clear is that Molina exited the project soon after, and much of Elio was reworked under new co-directors, Madeline Sharafin and Domi Shi. So this is all just speculated at this time as to what the feedback was from the Pixar executives. Right now, the timeline of events is saying that there was a test screening. Audiences said they liked it, but they didn't want to go watch it in theaters, or they wouldn't pay to watch it in theaters. So then they're like, tell the director, okay, go rework this stuff. And you as a gay man, obviously are kind of imprinting your own sensibilities within the movie and other things like that. But rework the movie. He comes back. They give him feedback that he doesn't like. So he walks away from the project, and they bring in new people to finish out. And that caused a lot of more of a budget the budget to expand on the movie, because they had to spend more money to change stuff out. I was deeply saddened and aggrieved by the changes that were made, says former Pixar assistant editor Sarah Ligatic, who provided feedback during the Elio production as a member of the company's internal LGBTQ group, Pix Pride. So now we know some more information about it, because apparently LGBT activists within the company are upset with the feedback that they got. So to me, that suggests that Disney executives are saying, like, hey, can you maybe tone down some of the gay stuff? And that might get more people to come out to watch it in theaters. Although she praises Sharafian and she as filmmakers, Ligatic notes that a number of creatives working on the film stepped down after the director shared their first cut of the movie. The exodus of talent after that cut was really indicative of how unhappy a lot of people were that they had changed and destroyed this beautiful work. So it really does sound like to me that they went back and removed a lot of the gay elements from the movie, and many of the activists who are working on it, who included those things in the movie, were upset about that. So they stepped down as a result. Another Pixar source disputes that people stepped down in response to Molina's departure. So it's not that they stepped down because of the stuff removed from the movie after the new directors came in, but they stepped down because the director who previously left the project left supposedly because they said remove the LGBT themes in the movie, and then other people working on it decided, instead of waiting for a new cut with that stuff removed from it, they just decided to leave with the director. But either way, one thing that apparently people agree on is that there was a huge exodus on this project, and the director left the project in order to bring in new talent, who then spent a couple years reworking everything and spending more money to reanimate much of the movie. The changes to Elio were clear to one former Pixar artist who worked on the film and asked to remain anonymous. It was pretty clear, though, the production of the first version of the film, that the studio leaders were constantly sanding down these moments in the film that alluded to Elio's sexuality of being queer. Not long after the final 2023 screening of Molina's cut for Pixar Brass, the company announced internally that Molina would take a break from the project, leading to a period of inactivity for those working on the film. Sources tell The Hollywood Reporter that Molina was informed shortly thereafter that Sharafian, who wrote and directed Pixar's 2020 short Burrow and was a storyboard artist on the 2022 feature Turning Red and Elio, would be elevated to director. Molina was given the opportunity to direct Elio with Sharafian, but after the numerous notes and changes to his original version, he decided to leave the project. A short time later, Pixar announced internally that she, the director and co-writer of Turning Red, would join Sharafian to direct Elio. Okay, so that's pretty much what we have so far. And then I made a video. It talks about it. Not my video, mind you, but I made a video on this article from the Wrap a couple weeks ago, and this article brings it up as well, where the person who wrote that article for the Wrap said it felt like there was a lot of instances in this movie where there could have been LGBT themes that were not there, which, according to that author, they believe that it was something missing from the movie, or it felt like it was something edited out and sometime after the fact, or changed sometime during the production phase of this. And it does certainly sound like that was the case, because Disney has kind of learned in recent years that when they're pushing stuff like that in their movies, that it hasn't been successful for them. we saw that when it came to Inside Out 2, where they deliberately made efforts to tone down the insinuation that Riley could potentially be gay. Supposedly that was something that they didn't necessarily make as overt as what I'm getting they made for Elio, but it was something that was there nonetheless. But they kind of toned it down so people couldn't get that insinuation. And I want to say this is the reason why Inside Out 2 was so successful, but I think it was a contributing factor to the movie's success, because one of the things that people were saying when that movie came out is that there was no political themes or anything like that in the movie. It was just a family movie that anyone can enjoy with no messaging whatsoever. So I think Disney, even though they kind of made the change, called for the changes on Elio before that, I think they were kind of thinking along those terms at this time that, okay, there's certain things that maybe we should kind of tone them down a little bit and see what happens. And maybe this was just a little bit too much for them. So that's why they wanted changes for it. But some people are going to say, like, but the movie still failed at the box office, so maybe they needed to include those in the begin with. Perhaps, but you also have to think with a lot of the people working on this movie before they made those changes, a lot of this stuff was kind of hardwired into it, and there's only so much you can actually do if you wanted to try to change them, because as I said, that article from the Wrap that came out was basically saying, like, there's stuff in here that just doesn't make sense if the character isn't queer or anything like that. So I think that's the reason why this movie ultimately failed, is because you're basically trying to get something that was intended to be gay from the outset and trying to make it not gay. And as a result, it just doesn't make sense. Now, would it have been successful with the original director, with his original vision? No, I mean, according to their own admission, that it probably wouldn't have been successful that way either. But it's certainly not successful now. Maybe you could argue that, like, it was positively received still, even if people didn't go see it in theaters. And that's really where we're at right now. So the only difference I would see from this is that Disney hired people who were going to make something that ultimately didn't work out for them, and then they were left trying to fix their mess. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.